Click here to subscribe our channel and do not forget to press the bell icon to get regular updates of our videos. Hello friends, good evening to all of you. So I am back with another video on Sociology Optional subject for UPSC CSE mains examination. In this video we are going to cover the major theoretical strands of research methodology under Sociology as science. So friend, please do this share as much as possible so that more and more people will get benefited. Comment and like the video and ask any doubt if you have. And now you can also follow us on FB page, that is facebook.com/Unorthodox Academy. So friend, as you know that in this video we are going to cover the slot 2 autonomous topics. Topic B of Sociology as science, that is major theoretical strands of research methodology. So friend, basically the sociologists approach the study of human society in different ways. They can look at the big picture of society to see how it operates. This is a macro view focusing on the large social phenomena of society such as social institutions and inequality. Sociologists can also take a micro view, zeroing in on the immediate social situations in which people interact with one another. From these two views, sociologists have developed various theoretical perspectives, each a set of general assumptions about the nature of society. So, these major theoretical strands could broadly be classified into two major approaches in sociology, the first being the structural approach and the second being is the social action approach. And the structural approach is also called as macro sociology, and the social action approach is also called as the interpretative, anti or non-positive, or the micro sociology. Structural and social action approaches to the study and research of society exhibit two major differences. One involves how they conceive of the society, the social world in itself. In other words, they completely disagree on the question of what society is. The second question follows from the first. It concerns the question of how we are to conduct our research into the social world. That is because structural and social action sociology have very different ideas of what society in fact is. They also have very different ideas about research methods which are most appropriate to the conduct of research into social life. This is why we can say that how we conceive of the society cannot be separated from the question of how we should proceed in our study of it. So now we discuss the two major theoretical strands, the various social perspective and the approaches that fall under their respective domain. So first we study about the structural approach. So basically the structural approach is a macro sociological analysis with a broad focus on social structures, and the social structures refers to the pattern of interrelation between individuals that shape society as a whole. Structural approach analyzes the way society as whole fits together. Structural theory sees society as a system of relationship that creates the structure of the society in which we live. It is this structure that determines our lives and characters. Structured sets of social relationships are the reality that lie below the appearance of the free individuals. So the Cliff Jones in his theory and method in sociology 1987 argues that the structuralist sociologists look at the society as a structure of cultural rules guiding our behavior and telling us how to behave appropriately in any given situations and what to expect in terms of the behavior of others. Thus, the structural sociology is based on the premise that society comes before individuals. This general idea that sociologists should study the way society impacts on individuals' behaviors represents the main way structuralist sociologist differs from the social action sociologist. So further with these assumptions about the social reality, the structural theorist argues that there can be a sociology which is a science. So in other words, sociology can be a science of society, just as, for example, nuclear physics is the science of structure of the matter of atoms, neutrons, electrons, and so on. Structural theorists conceive society as an objective phenomena, a thing. In other words, just as natural science study the structure and composition of matter, sociology too can identify and objectively study the social structure and its various constituents such as shared norms, values, attitudes and belief, and etc. Hence, the structural theorist argues that the study of social world can be modeled on the study of natural phenomena, and the scientific methodology of natural sciences can be adopted to study the social phenomena. Thus, we can conclude that structural approaches are positivist in nature. And those sociologists who tried to develop sociology on the line of natural sciences are known as positivists, and their perspective is known as positivism, which is covered under the section C, that is positivism and its critics under the sociology as science. So basically in sociology there are two main structural approaches, the first being the consensus theory and second is the conflict theory. So the functional analysis, also known as functionalism and structural functionalism, is rooted in the origin of sociology. It is prominent in the work of Auguste Comte and Herbert Spencer, two of the founding fathers of the discipline. It was developed by Emile Durkheim and later redefined by Talcott Parsons. So the functionalism was the dominant theoretical perspective in sociology during the 1940s and 50s. From the mid-1960s onward, its popularity steadily declined due partly to damaging criticism and partly to competitive perspective, which appeared to provide superior explanations. So, society from a functionalist perspective is a system made up of interrelated parts such as the body of human being. The social system has a certain basic needs which must be met if it is to survive. These needs are known as functional prerequisites. The function of any part of society is its contributions to maintenance of society. The major functions of social institutions are those which help to meet the functional prerequisites of society. Since society is a system, there must be some degree of integration between its parts. A minimal degree of integration is therefore a functional prerequisites of society. Many functionalists maintain that the order and the stability they see as essential for the maintenance of social systems are largely provided by value consensus. An investigation of the source of value consensus is therefore a major concern of functionalist analysis. However, with their concern for investigating how functional prerequisites are met, functionalists have concentrated on functions rather than dysfunctions. This emphasis has resulted in many institutions being seen as beneficial and useful to society. Indeed, some institutions such as family, religion and social stratification have been seen as not only beneficial but indispensable. This view has led critics to argue that functionalism has a built-in conservative bias which supports the status quo. The argument that certain social arrangements are beneficial or indispensable provides support for their retention and rejects proposal for radical change. Although functionalists emphasizes the importance of value consensus in the society, they do recognize that conflict can occur. However, they see conflict as being the result of temporary disturbances in the social system. These disturbances are usually quickly corrected as society evolves. Functionalists accept that social groups can have differences of interest but believe these are of minor importance compared to the interests that all social groups share in common. They believe that all social groups benefit if their society runs smoothly and prospers. Conflict theories differ from functionalism in that they hold that there are the fundamental differences of interest between the social groups. These differences result in conflict being a common and persistent feature of society and not a temporary aberration. There are a number of different conflict perspectives and their supporters tend to disagree about their precise nature, cause and extent of the conflict. So first we talk of the Marxism. So basically the conflict perspective originated largely from Karl Marx writing on the class conflict between capitalists and the proletariat. For decades, US sociologists tend to ignore Marx and the conflict perspective because the functionalist perspective dominated their view of society. Since the turbulent of 1960s, the conflict perspective has gained popularity. Generally, conflict is now defined more broadly. Whereas Marx believed that conflict between economic classes was the key force in society, conflict theorists today define social conflict to mean conflict between any unequal groups or societies. Thus, they examine conflict between whites and blacks, men and women, one religion group and another, on one society and another, and so on. They emphasizes that group or societies have conflicting interests and values and compete with each other for the scarce resources. The more powerful groups gain more than the less powerful, but the former continue to seek more wealth and power, while the latter continues to struggle for more resources. Because of this perpetual competition, society or the world is always changing. So now we consider the feminism. So basically there are different versions of feminism but most share a number of features in common. Like Marxists, feminists tend to see society as divided into different social groups. Unlike Marxists, they see the major division as being the between men and women rather than between different classes. Like Marxists, they tend to see society as characterized by exploitation. Unlike Marxists, they see the exploitation of women by men and as the most important source of exploitation, rather than that of working class by the ruling class. So the many feminists characterize temporary societies as patriarchal, that is, men dominated them. For example, feminists have argued that men have most of the power in families, that they tend to be employed in better paid and higher status jobs than women, and that they tend to monopolize positions of political power. The ultimate aim of this type of feminism is to end men's domination and to get rid of society of exploitation of women. Such feminists advance a range of explanations for and solutions to the exploitation of women. However, they all believe that the development of society can be explained and that progress towards an improved future is possible. Now we consider another major theoretical strand, that is the social action approach. So the social action approach is also called as interpretative, anti or non-positive or micro-sociology in sociology, which rejects many of the assumptions of positivism. And the method used in this are known as non-positivist methodologies, and they are the symbolic interactionism, phenomenology and ethnomethodology, which we will study in the video of non-positivist methodology under sociology as science. So, the social action theorist argues that the subject matter of social and the natural sciences is fundamentally different. As a result, the methods and assumptions of the natural sciences are inappropriate to the study of man. The natural sciences deal with matter. To understand and explain the behavior of matter, it is sufficient to observe it from the outside. Atoms and the molecules do not have consciousness. They do not have meaning and purposes which direct their behavior. Matter simply reacts unconsciously to external stimuli. In scientific languages, it behaves. As a result, the natural scientist is able to observe, measure, and impose an external logic on that behavior in order to explain it. He has no need to explore the internal logic of the consciousness of matter simply because it does not exist. So the Max Weber was one of the first sociologists to outline this perspective in detail. He argued that sociological explanation of action should begin with observing and interpreting the subjective state of mind of pupil. Interactionism adopts a similar approach with particular emphasis on the process of interaction. Where positivists emphasize fact and cause and effect relationship, interactionists emphasize insight and the understanding. Since it is not possible to get inside the heads of actors, the discovery of meaning must be based on interpretation and intuition. For this reason, objective measurement is not possible and the exactitude of the natural sciences cannot be duplicated. Since meaning are constantly negotiated in ongoing interaction process, it is not possible to establish simple cause and effect relationship. Thus, some sociologists argued that sociology is limited to an interpretation of social action, and hence the social action approach are also sometimes referred as the interpretative sociology. Nevertheless, both Weber and the interactionists did think it was possible to produce causal explanation of human behavior so long as an understanding of meaning formed part of those explanations. Some sociologists, particularly phenomenologists, take the argument further and claim that it is possible for sociologists to find the cause of human action. So thank you guys for listening me and watching this video. Thank you.